It's Thursday. It's week 4 of this segment, week 9 of the NFL season, and it's what's more likely. Nick, I'm going to toss it to you. I'm excited for these ones. Bye week, what's more likely, which, I mean, I don't even know what to expect, and that's what I think is most exciting about this one for me. So I'm going to toss it to you. I'm going to give you the mic here. What do you got?
Yeah, it's a bye week. We can't look ahead to a specific game. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to look ahead to the rest of this season and start off with this one. What's more likely? Najee Harris runs for 100+ yards 5 more times, or George Pickens has 100+ receiving yards 5 more times. Najee has 300-yard games. George has 2.
5 more times. There are
9 games.
9 games. You're going 4 90-yard 99 minus or less performances for Najee Harris. You play the Baltimore Ravens twice, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, the Baltimore Ravens defense is not very good right now. You play Kansas City, which is a defensive matchup right now. Where we stand right now, that's who's got the best defense. You play Philly. I mean, that's the Philadelphia Georgia Bulldogs right there. And they got every big man you could imagine up front. Oh my. And then you got Cleveland. And not Cincinnati. We won't put Cincinnati in there. And then Washington's defense is very good too. That's tough. I think if Najee had 2 coming in here, I'd say Najee Harris. But he's got 3. He's got 4 on the year.
3 total on the year.
He's only got 3. The 3 back to back to back. That's it. All right, I'm going George Pickens. Russ is just starting. You got to imagine they land a wide receiver, which hopefully opens some things up. George is a guy that, like, it almost surprises. I mean, he puts 2 toes down. There's 100 yards. You know, Broderick Jones doesn't grab the dude's face mask unnecessarily. There's 100 yards. I just feel like it's much easier for George to pull this. George is a 1-catch, 90-yard guy. That's like, anything can happen at any moment. You have no idea. You got to imagine that him going 90 against the Cincinnati Bengals, potentially the Washington Commanders, like, that's got to be easier than Najee rushing against these guys, especially with the beat-up offensive line. I'm going to go George, and what's more likely. That's a tough one, though. That's a tough one. 5 is a lot, but I would imagine George is just getting started here with those 100-yard games.
All right, let's go over to the defensive side of the football. What's more likely? TJ Watt ends up leading the league in sacks. He is 2.5 behind Dexter Lawrence, or Dante Jackson ends up leading the league in interceptions. He is 3 behind the current leader in the clubhouse.
Oh, you got to go TJ. You'd have to put your faith in TJ in any situation, but 2 behind a nose tackle it's so surprising that Dexter Lawrence is leading the league in sacks. It's just, that's a stunner, because defensive tackles don't lead the league in sacks most times. You'd have to go TJ on that one. If Aiden Hutchinson was still healthy and playing, I would say there's a slim chance, because he had 5 sacks in one game. Like, he was taking this league over by storm. He was going to win Defensive Player of the Year. Now it's TJ, and they're just starting to flip sides. They're going to do everything they can to make him open and avoid chips and so on and so forth. So I would say TJ. Dante's 3 interceptions behind the league leader. Who's the league leader?
I got to look that one back up.
What does Dante have? Do you know?
3.
Somebody's got 6 interceptions this season. That is wild to me, actually, that we are.
Xavier McKinney of Green Bay has 6. Kirby Joseph has 5. Marlon Humphrey and Brian Branch have 4. And then Dante is 5th right now with 3.
Yeah, you got to go TJ. That list is just crazy. McKinney it seems like he's just getting started. He's like, wow, I got out of New York. Love this. Sounds good. So, I mean, and Brian Branch, I got a lot of faith in too. There's only 1 corner on that list. That's nuts. You got to go. You got to go TJ.
All righty, let's go to this one. Not a what's more likely, but a who's more likely. Who is more likely to score more touchdowns in the second half of the season? Jaylen Warren or Cordero Patterson? Neither of them have reached the end zone this season yet.
The answer to this one will be controversial. Well, what's more likely is Cordero Patterson scores more touchdowns than Jaylen Warren. And I only say that because of opportunity. Jaylen will not get the red zone plays. Those will be Najee's. He will not get the kick returns. Those will be Cordero's. So you'd have to imagine that Jaylen's getting in the end zone off of 30-plus yard runs. Whereas in Cordero, I mean, they probably put the 250-pound running back out there on the goal line and say, screw it, punch somebody. I mean, like, Cordero's a massive human being. Massive human being. You would imagine they're going to put him in. They would put him in over Jaylen on the goal line. I mean, that final count might be like 3-2, but you'd have to imagine Cordero is the name there. What's more likely is Cordero, simply because usage where you score, you utilize the guy. He looks like an offensive lineman, man. He looks like if him and Darnell stood next to each other, you'd say those are two tight ends. That's a tight end and an offensive tackle. That's what you would say. So I go Cordero.
All righty, let's go down to what's more likely. Russell Wilson leads the NFL in passing yards per game this season, of which he currently sits third, or Justin Fields scores at least 5 more touchdowns. He has 10 in 6 games.
No, Justin's not scoring 5 more touchdowns. He's not. He's not scoring 5 more touchdowns unless Russ gets hurt. But I will not make a what's more likely prediction off of injuries. So you got to go Russ. I mean, that's tough. But like who, like Jared, I would imagine Jared Goff leads that category, or at least is very close. Lamar is probably up there too. I would say Russ has a shot. This is something where at the end of the season, you're looking at it and going, wow, Russell Wilson leads the league in passing yards per game. That's wild. And you're having conversations with your neighbor or your buddy at the bar about how that just doesn't make any sense. But here it is, whereas in Justin Fields finishing a season with 15 touchdowns coming off the bench, I mean, that's just unheard of in the NFL. So I would go, if Russ stays healthy, what's more likely is Russ. There's a low bar for both of these, but you got to go Russ over this one, simply because he's not going to get those opportunities.
What if I said 2? Does that change your thought? You think?
Yeah, I would go 2.
You would go
2. I'd go 2 is more likely. I think he gets 2. 5 is a lot.
5 is a lot.
5 is if you said Najee gets 5 more rushing touchdowns this season, I'd be like, yeah, probably, most likely. So you're telling me that Justin's going to get more touchdowns in the back half than Najee? In my head, I just said 3-2 for Cordero and Jaylen.
Yeah.
That's I could see 2. I would go 2 in that situation, but 5, I'm going Russ. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. See all of your subscriptions in one place and know exactly where your money is going. And for any that you don't want anymore, Rocket Money can help you cancel them with just a few taps. Rocket Money's dashboard gives you a clear view of your expenses across all accounts, easily creates a personalized budget with custom categories to help keep your spending on track, and sees your monthly spending trends in each category to know exactly where your money is going. Get alerts if your bills increase in price, there's unusual spending activity, or if you're close to going over your budget. And the new goals feature automatically saves money for you without you even having to think about it. Whether your goal is to pay off your credit card debt, put away money for a house, or just build your savings, Rocket Money makes it easy. Rocket Money will even try to negotiate lower bills for you, sometimes up to 20%. They automatically scan your bills to find opportunities to save. Then you can ask them to negotiate for you. They'll deal with customer service. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions. They could save members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/allsteelers. That's rocketmoney.com/allsteelers. rocketmoney.com/allsteelers.
Alrighty, I got one more, and then we got a couple in the comment section here. Let's go. What's more likely? The Steelers trade for one of Cooper Kupp or Cortland Sutton, or Mike Tomlin wins Coach of the Year for the first time ever?
They trade for Cooper Kupp or Cortland Sutton. And that is the easiest answer. And it has nothing to do with the possibility of the Pittsburgh Steelers trading for either of those guys. It's the fact that the NFL, no matter how good Mike Tomlin is, refuses to give this man Coach of the Year. And they come up with excuse after excuse after excuse on why they don't do it. Because if we're going to be honest, Coach of the Year should have went to Mike Tomlin the year Duck Hodges went 8-8. It should have went 8. He should have went to Mike Tomlin last year when Mason Rudolph led their asses into the playoffs. I mean, you could go back. You could go back so many times and say Mike Tomlin probably should have won Coach of the Year there. And they just refuse. They come up with nonsense after nonsense after nonsense about who Kevin Stefanski has won it twice. 2 times. Tell me 2 Browns teams that you think were coached better than any team in the NFL. You can't. They last year, Joe Flacco,
A Super Bowl winning quarterback.
a Super Bowl winning quarterback who's doing it again in Indianapolis. Like, it's just Mike Tomlin does it with nobodies and nothing all the time, and he does it time and time again. And I really, and the problem, what's going to screw him this year is that he did it too early. He did it in week 6. He should have did it in week 15. Should have pulled the quarterback then so that people could still be talking about it at the end of the season. But that's the ballsiest move you could make in the NFL, is yanking your quarterback. They're ballsiest. Anthony Richardson is, he walked off the field on his team. That does not happen. You do not leave you could crawl back to the huddle. Justin Fields, remember last year, the DJ Moore having to like literally throw him off the field because he's so disoriented. He didn't want to leave. Like, that's what a quarterback does. Anthony Richardson goes out, they bench him, and people are questioning it. Mike Tomlin benched his quarterback in the middle of the year and just said, yeah, man, screw it. I just think this is going to be better. And it was. So they'll never give it to him. It will easily be Cooper Kupp or Cortland Sutton. But that has nothing to do with Cooper Kupp or Cortland Sutton coming to Pittsburgh. It is Mike Tomlin. No matter how good he does, he could coach a Pee-wee football team and beat Andy Reid with assistant coach Bill Belichick and Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes sharing reps at quarterback, and they will still give it to somebody else before they gave it to Mike Tomlin.
All righty, let's go to the listeners' inquiries here with what's more likely, starting with Cody Silva, who says, what's more likely, Broderick Jones finishes the year strong or gets replaced by Dylan Cook?
I would guess Broderick. I would guess Broderick finishes strong. You go back and watch the tape on Broderick, okay? And there are a lot of bad plays, but there are some good ones. There are some moments of, oh, there's Broderick Jones. There he is. There, look at, good job. Good job, man. You're doing good. And I think those come and go more and more as we go on. I don't think the Steelers are going to, I think it's going to take everything in them to bench Broderick Jones a second time. And Dylan Cook is good, but he's got to get healthy. He's got to get jumping on a moving train, which is going to be difficult. I would go Broderick Jones. I think I have enough faith in Broderick Jones to say at some point he turns it around this season. When? I don't know, but at some point.
All righty, let's go over to Carl Spackler, who says, what's more likely, Calvin Austin has more kick return touchdowns or Minka has more interceptions by the end of the year?
Are we gonna keep it kick? Or are we gonna go punt?
All kicks, punts.
Okay.
He's
I was gonna say he's not gonna
take any returns.
Okay, he's not gonna take any kicks, but I still think that would be even. Let's break it even. I'm gonna go Calvin. He's got a 1-0 lead. There's a pretty good shot he keeps that 1-0 lead. Like, until Minka comes up with an interception, you can't believe that he's gonna come up with an interception.
And he hasn't been close very, very much.
No, that's the thing, is he's just not anywhere near the ball in the air. And I don't know if that's Minka. You know, it just doesn't seem like they're ever throwing to where Minka is or giving Minka an opportunity to come up with it. He's near hitting guys, and maybe that's what he's looking for now. He's just ready to lay some blows on people, and he's just like, screw it, I'm angry. I'm ready to just take this out a little bit, which wouldn't surprise me. Minka, this scary guy. I would say Calvin. I think Calvin's going to break another one, and 2 is way more than enough to beat Minka in interceptions where we stand right now, simply because it just doesn't look like he's going to get any. He just doesn't look like he's going to get any. I'm going Calvin Austin.
Alrighty, let's go to X Concepts, who says, what's more likely, Darnell Washington or Pat Fryermuth lead the tight end room in touchdowns this year? Right now, it is 2-1 in favor of Fryermuth.
Yeah, it's going to be Pat Fryermuth. What's more likely is Pat Fryermuth. And that's just, Pat gets those little shuffle passes. Pat's the guy that'll catch a 25-yard touchdown. Pat's a guy that could catch it at the 30 and find his way to the end zone. It's just more options, more availability, more ways to get into the end zone, more utilization. It all favors Pat Fryermuth. You got to believe Pat's going to finish with at least 5 touchdowns. Darnell's got a good season if he finishes with 3. It's a great year for Darnell Washington. I would go Pat Fryermuth. It was cool to see Darnell get in the end zone. I hope that continues. I expect it to continue, but I expect Pat's usage at some point this season to just really start to have an uptick.
We have one last what's more likely, then a handful of listener questions to get to. But let's start with Jeff Cole's what's more likely. Broderick Jones stays with the Steelers and becomes a bench tackle, or he goes to another team and becomes an all-pro left tackle.
Oh, man. It's funny because it's true. What's more likely is that he goes to another team and becomes an all-pro tackle. I don't think either of these are necessarily super likely to happen. I think the most likely scenario is he becomes the starting left tackle of the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's the most likely scenario. That we have to come a long way before the end of the season. Decisions have to be made. The Steelers have to not listen to this podcast because I will tell them that Dan Moore should be the starting left tackle. But if they do all those things, if all those things happen, he will become the starting left tackle in 2025 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But if we're just picking between these two, because that's what we do here, I'm going to say he becomes an all-pro somewhere else because he's an all-pro. He's got the talent level of an all-pro. He's not putting on display of an all-pro. You got to imagine he goes to wherever, the Rams, the Eagles, the wherever, and becomes an all-pro left tackle. And the Steelers are like, well, remember when we drafted him 14th overall? Yeah, good times. Good times. Because that's what they do. And that's what they always do. So I would say what's more likely is he's named an all-pro somewhere else and everybody's complaining about it in like 3 years.
Let's actually do one more what's more likely, because Sean jumped in here and said, what's more likely, the Steelers finish atop the AFC North or they finish in a wild card spot?
This is a very good one. I'm glad that we finished with this one. What's more likely? Steelers finish top of the AFC North. And you want to know why? Because the Steelers went undefeated in the AFC North last year. And you got to think that they hold an upper hand on a Ravens team that is living and dying off of Lamar and Derrick Henry, which is in the Steelers' favor. If Baltimore was winning through their defense, the Steelers are in trouble because the Steelers' defense right now is shaky. But you got to imagine the Steelers are still going to hold up well against Lamar because they do it every single time. The Bengals are atrocious. And Jameis is going to be good for the first one, but chances are not for the second one. The Steelers aren't going to lose to the Browns twice. I would say what's more likely, they win the AFC North simply because they hold a lead and all they got to do is keep it. And I mean, if they lose 4 more games in the back half, they still probably get very close. So what's more likely, they win the AFC North.
All right, we do have one more, and I swear this is the last one, but it's because it's the artist formerly known as the Fields is for the Pickens, now more commonly known as Unlimited Moonballs, who says, what's more likely, Cam Sutton catches Beanie Bishop in interceptions or Joey Porter catches Dante Jackson in interceptions?
Wow, dude. This is why I don't pull the comments up. I let Nick handle the comments. I just stare at his face the whole time. This is unbelievable. Fantastic name, my friend. Fantastic. blew it out of the park. Unbelievable. Cam Sutton catches Beanie and INTs, or George Pickens catches.
He meant
Joey Porter
catches
Jackson.
Jackson.
I'd go Cam. 3 interceptions. You got to go Cam. Why didn't you put Beanie Bishop in the lead in the interceptions here? What are we doing here? We're not.
He says
favoritism.
They're both.
No, I'm talking about you when
Me?
we talked leading the league in interceptions.
Oh, I guess Beanie Bishop is tied there. I mean, based on the ESPN thing, it says Dante over Beanie, so ESPN's being partial.
ESPN, man. This is why you come here. Cam Sutton catches Beanie Bishop, dude. The last time Cam Sutton was in Pittsburgh, he had 6 interceptions. I mean, you got to think that people are going to target him. He comes up with the football. I'm a much bigger believer in Cam Sutton than most people. I think he's a good corner. I think he adds a lot to this room. I'm big into Cam Sutton, man. I think I would say 3 interceptions is pretty easy in the back half because he will get so many targets. Joey's not an INT guy. He finishes with 2 INTs. You're feeling real good about it. I don't think Dante Jackson's anywhere close to done. He said it himself. He said, I've always been this good. I've just played on bad teams. So it's, you don't even know what he's doing here. This is just the beginning. I would say Cam Sutton catches Beanie Bishop, but I mean, who knows, dude? Beanie Bishop could come up with another one and another one and another one. And it could be the end of the season and Beanie could lead this team in interceptions and we wouldn't even be surprised. So, but I'm going Cam Sutton, and what's more likely. Shout out to Unlimited Moonballs. That is fantastic. That's a fantastic name.